Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chat Off the Mat. I am Rose Whitbitch.
And I'm Jennifer Aish. So, welcome everyone. Today we have a very, very special guest with us. Her name is Janet Straightarrow. She is a shaman, a healer, a sage who is always smiling, and she is the founder and creator of Be the Medicine.
Yes, we welcome you, Janet. Um,
Thank
so, Joe, I just want to mention briefly that Janet has been a teacher of mine. I met Janet several years ago. We both live in the same state, and I studied under her for a bit. And learned a lot. And a lot of the teachings that Janet shared with me and others in the group, very powerful, and that I practiced to this day. And we've stayed connected um, since then. And I'm really excited that you are on the show with us, Janet. So, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your journey, and also about what Be the Medicine is all about?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. And I love to share and inspire and encourage people. I just told the ladies that I am 70 years old. Very few
Yes.
lines.
She looks
Big
beautiful.
smile.
Yes,
I decided all the hair comes off and I'm just going to be me. And
love it.
I'm having fun. I'm doing makeup that I haven't done in years, especially since COVID. I got all new clothes this season. It's the time to come out and be who we are, no matter what our age. And I don't feel old. I feel inspired that I have so much wisdom and so much experience and so many wonderful memories and teachings that I can share and encourage other people. And my only rule when people call me, and people are going through a lot of stuff and they call me and they're a little nervous. And I go, I only have one rule. And they're like bracing, right? And I go, we're gonna have fun. And they're like, I don't know if I remember to do that, or I can do that. I get one or the other. But to me, the spiritual healing journey is all about joy. And we want to align with the truth of our soul. Our soul is health, happiness, truth, beauty, light, love, peace, oneness, goodness, and all good stuff. Our true soul, our true self is that soul. And that's the basis of the work that I encourage people. When I grew up in a house of, my father was chronically critically ill. We grew up Catholic, and he had last rites of the Catholic Church when my mom was pregnant with me. And he lived 21 years later. He died 21 years later. And it was a horrible journey. It was very difficult. I loved my father. He was a soulmate of mine. We spoke universal law, and we spoke the truth of wisdom. But he was dying. He was constantly sick. He was constantly in and out of hospitals. And I ended up taking on some of his illness, is what I found out years later. And I was very sickly as well. And when I was 15 and my father was 43 and retired because he couldn't work anymore, our family doctor said, "You're not going to live long. You're following in your father's footsteps, and you're going to deteriorate faster, and it's going to be worse." And when I tell people this, they go, "That's horrible for a doctor to tell you that." And I go, "No, it was exactly what I needed to hear, because it woke me up." And I knew that we can heal ourselves, that we don't need to be in pain and we don't need to be sick. And I knew there was a different paradigm, which I had heard, through when I went to church, from Jesus. And I said, there's a lot of stuff around this that I don't agree with, but these basic core principles I agree with, and they resonate with me. And it inspired me to explore. And a couple things I said to myself at 15 was, this isn't mine. And it wasn't until 2011 that I had the experience that I had taken on some of my father's illness when I was in the womb. The other thing was that I'm going to learn how to live a long, healthy, happy life and help others learn how to do it too. And the stuff that this Jesus dude is doing, I know that we can all do it. I know that's what he meant by telling his apostles that you can do this and more. I felt he was telling all of us that. So that's what I knew at 15. And I also began reading Edgar Cayce. I studied nutrition because I was born in the 50s and lived, it was in the 60s at that time, 67. And that's when processed food started. That's when all the Wonder Bread and everything was very popular, and the frozen food and the canned food. And it wasn't really food, and it wasn't good for us. And I began to study then. And I studied Silva mind control. I studied many, many things. And I just followed my questions to find the answers. And that's living the spiritual journey. We want to do that. We want to say, well, I have this question. Let me be curious. I find that people aren't curious. They accept. Like if I had accepted what the doctor said, I wouldn't be here now. Right? I would have followed that because that was the family pattern. I broke all of the family patterns over many years. I broke all personal patterns over many years because I want to be happy and healthy and whole. And when bad things happen, instead of feeling like a victim, I go, okay, what's the lesson here? What can I do to change this or to improve this and to learn from this? And so I have energy that's positive with it rather than poor me or what or whatever people say, right? And that's important too. But the first thing about the spiritual journey, I'm going to mention a couple things that are really key. And if you have paper and a pen, I would recommend that you write this down as you listen to this. Being true to yourself. Most people say that, but they don't even know they're not doing it. But from the time I was a child, I was told I had the gift of discernment. And what that is I could see the truth and I could see the lie, and I don't judge it. I just accept it and work with it. And that's the evolution for many people, is learning the gift of discernment, where we can really stop the ego from running away from things that we don't like. Because that's how the ego breaks down. The ego is our strength. The ego is our advocate, but it also will be sidetracked to protect us when we're hurt. And if we're hurt and we hide, then we're not able to truly fully function, and we carry our wounds forward and we change our behaviors. And we make reasons and excuses for doing things. And we're afraid to tell others. And what I learned was I couldn't tell everybody the truth when I was a kid, but I always told myself. And that saved my life too. And that's something to work towards, telling yourself the truth. My first shamanic workshop was with a group of actors. Olympia Dukakis was the lead actor. 4 women actors up at Omega. And why I say it was shamanic, because we worked through the Inanna Ereshkigal, the ancient Sumerian fable, and going down to the depths and stripping to the hollow bone and rising. And Olympia had each one, there must have been 40 of us, come to the circle, and she questioned us on our truth. And she wouldn't let us out of the circle until we told the truth of whatever we were working on at the moment. And I cried more that week. I never saw women cry more that week than any other time. But it was so freeing, because when we allow ourselves to know the truth, which is not often bad, but if we let it go long, it's not so good, right? If we allow abuse, if we're not authentic to ourselves if we keep giving our power away to others, people pleasing, not being nice. So learning to come back to ourselves all the time, no matter what your age is the most important thing to do. Don't be afraid of the truth, because when you know the truth, you can take action. And don't judge yourself. Don't blame yourself. Honor your journey. People tell me, this is taking too long. I go, we're always on time. Just be there and work with it. And love yourself enough to keep going. And we want to get over the fact that I want to be done. I tell people, when you're done, you're dead. So I don't recommend that. I'm 70 years old and there's still so much more. I've been through a lot of the rough parts of the journey, and when rough things come up, I can work with it like that now because I have experience and I have wisdom. But the rough stuff is really gone because I've worked through it. And now enjoying being in the now, enjoying the gifts is so much easier. And that's what happens when you accept and live your journey. We have to stop being victims and be participants and be curious and always look for the higher truth, not the, oh, you have bad karma and that's why this is happening. And, you've got to play this out for another 3 lifetimes, which some psychic people tell you. No. Don't buy into that. Anything that somebody tries to impose on you in a negative way, that's where you use discernment. You say, wait a minute. If somebody's taking me down and not uplifting me, even the worst news can be uplifting if shared from a clear heart and mind. So you want to be careful of teachers or readers or people that try to impose negativity on you, try to give you something to fear so that they can collect thousands of dollars to save you. We have to get over other people being the savior, and we have to be the savior of ourselves by being conscious, by being present, by taking responsibility without blame, and be loving ourselves and just keep going. So that's a big message that I give to a lot of people about the journey. We're always on time. I want you to hear that, because people are always like, oh, I should have done this. It's like, stop shitting on yourself and just be present. When I find something come at me that's not great, that I feel like I have to work on, I go, yay. Something came to light that's been hidden that needs to be addressed. Now I have an opportunity to address it and heal it and release it and learn from it. And that's what the spiritual journey is about. It's not about getting over it. It's not about hiding from it. It's not from making it la, la, la. It's really all about being present and loving and pulling back into yourself, connecting with your higher self and looking at it with love. When we look at our journey with love, we receive everything that we need.
Very true. Wow, I almost cried when you were talking about your session at Omega and picturing that whole experience for you. I wanted to ask you a question. Well, you talked about breaking patterns, that you broke patterns. How does one break those patterns? And it's almost the same as when something comes up for you. Maybe it's something traumatic that happened in the past that you haven't yet healed or released, and you create patterns around that, whether it's you're the victim or you're a martyr or you still react to things in a certain way. How does one identify those patterns and then break those patterns?
If it doesn't feel good, it's not good. Mm. If we feel bad about ourselves, or if we feel angry or judgmental or fearful or anxious, a lot of people come to me with anxiety. that means the truth and the lie is dancing with you. And if you play with so how to identify? So I tell people that confusion is the lie and the truth in the same place. So we always know our higher truth. Whenever and a lot of my work is helping people open to that in a situation or in their lives in some ways. And as soon as I open them to it, that's that straight arrow, bing, I hit that deeper place. And then they go, oh, yes. We always know, we're always connected to our soul, our higher self. So when we're anxious, our body's out of alignment, our emotions are out of alignment, our thoughts are out of alignment, our spirit is out of alignment. And we need to get curious. And we need to also pull back into yourself and love yourself without judgment or blame. Take responsibility. This happened. And then you ask yourself, how do I heal this? And is there someone that I should go to who will help me, who facilitate this? Don't assume you have to do this alone. I have had mentors and teachers all along the way. And I'm an old soul. I've been doing this for lifetimes. I remember them. I remembered lifetimes around the world, which is why I'm more of a universal shaman than a specific tradition. I've studied with many traditions, and they all reminded me and woke up different aspects of who I've been. I even remembered I went to Israel. I remembered being a 104-year-old rabbi and very beloved because he taught universal law, not, strict religion. And that's pretty much what I do. I teach universal law. So when there's a lot of methods to heal trauma, Rose, and I work with a lot of people with that very successfully. And it's unique to what you need in the moment. But don't look for a quick fix. Realize that there's a lot of layers. And that it's okay if you're not done. When you have deep lessons to learn, it's going to show up here and there, and with this relationship and with this job it's going to come up all over. And instead of being mad, you want to say, okay, this is another place that I have to work on myself to heal. And the biggest thing is acting on it. I work with people that people come to me also who are stuck. They go, I'm stuck. I go, okay, good. We've got some good fun stuff to do together. And it's, again, finding the truth, looking at what we've been hiding, look at what the ego's been protecting, looking at what we're afraid to see, and act on. We're stuck because we're not acting, but we're also stuck because maybe we're not clear and ready yet. And that's okay too. Maybe it's not stuck. Maybe we're just at a shift point. And that's okay too. Making your journey okay is the best way to open up to healing yourself. Because as soon as we judge it, the ego comes in, and the voices of the negative ego come in and make you afraid and make you bad and make you a victim, and all the voices you heard in the culture and the family come out to play with you. And we want to let them go. And I have a beautiful method I've developed to help people do that. So that's something I work with people as well. But trauma is a big thing, and it has many layers and many ways in to get it out. And so to answer your question, but to be able to face it and love yourself through it and ask the divine for help. And the other thing is, I've studied many traditions and many ways of working with the soul, and there's a belief that the soul is broken or lost. And the soul, what I found in my soul shamanism work with experiencing many people, when you connect to the soul, it is whole. WHOLE. It is wise. It is knowledgeable. It is unconditional loving. It is not broken. The parts that are broken is our personality self and the spirit we brought in to activate in this lifetime. The reason we can always heal is because the soul is always whole. And that was a huge revelation to me that I'd never heard anyplace before. And so when I help people reclaim parts of themselves, it's not the soul, because the soul is the one that's helping us reclaim our wholeness. And that's what healing means, wholeness. Doesn't mean take a pill. Doesn't mean have a glass of wine. It means coming back to our original nature of wholeness. So Be the Medicine came from actually my 15-year-old self that said, I'm going to heal myself. Obviously, the doctor wasn't helping, because he gave me that sorcery of saying that I'm going to die young and it's going to be terrible. And that's sorcery, by the way. When somebody imposes a negative projection on you, if I did not change, he would have been right. But because of that, I woke up. And by the way, if you look back at your 15-year-old self, and this is for you too, as well as everybody else, there is something major that happened at 15 that woke you up. So take it into your meditations. Don't take it into your mind, and see what comes to you. But there's something at 15 that we wake up. And I woke up my purpose. And I chose that family to help me wake up that purpose. So it's all good. I tell people it's all good and it all sucks. Okay. That's how it is. Then we laugh and we go, that's true. So Be the Medicine came from that knowledge, but I also knew I had to learn how. And that's what I realized, actually in a real estate meeting years later, that, and not too many years ago, that I was with a group of realtors and they had a psychologist in and they were talking about the different aspects of how they operate. And I realized that the purpose of Be the Medicine is to teach people how to do all the things they think they already know. How do I change? How do I heal? How do I love? How do I become who I am? So the power of how is what I teach. So I learned that we want to align with the divine. We want to align with our soul purpose. We want to align our mind, body, spirit with acceptance and love and curiosity to be the truth of who we are. We want to stop discounting parts of ourselves, except for when you say, I know what I have to do and I know where I'm going and I know what's important, but a part of me keeps saying, no, you don't want to do that. But I go, that's not a part of you. That's a part from you that is influencing you. And that's something to be healed. Some people might call that aspect a shadow, but I don't go with shadow. I know more about what that is. And it's energy, it's spiritual energy that we've taken on that's not of the light, not of the positive, that needs to be worked with in many ways to release, because we're very hypnotized and indoctrinated to believe that negative voice in our head and give that more value than our higher self, which tells us loving, truthful things. People go, I get the truth, I get this wisdom, but I ignore it, of course. And I go, well, that's the big problem in our culture. We ignore the gifts that we have, and we're afraid of them rather than being uncomfortable with the negative, right? So changing our focus to open up, not to being la positive, but being understanding that we are divine. And for instance, when COVID, I'm just going on. Is this okay? Because it's just channeling through.
Just go.
When COVID happened, I had just moved I was so excited. I had this beautiful space to welcome so many people. And then we shut down. And I was like, well, I have this high rent and I have these expenses. And I felt paralyzed at first. And then I meditated and I sat with it. And I said, you know what? Is all I have to do is align with the divine truth and open up and let go of the fear and know that I can figure this out. I'm supported. And so I went from this very fearful place, which everybody was in, to this very bright, light, fun, encouraging place. I found free learnings on how to work with Facebook, not Facebook, LinkedIn, how to work with Zoom. And before you know it, I had all these wonderful classes on Zoom with people from all around the country as well as Canada joining me. So it actually was even more. And I learned that my energy carries throughout whatever medium, and that everybody feels like they're in the same room because of the way I hold everybody with love and encouragement and interaction. And I was like, wow, I love this. And then when I was teaching distance healing, and we could get the immediate understanding that it was happening at a distance in the moment, it was just so cool. So I've really adapted to Zoom, and I'm never going to give it up because it's so helpful. But I do enjoy in person. You know, it is a wonderful experience. But I don't want to say it's better or worse. I'm just going to say it is what it is. So be the medicine is, it always brings, so when I say be the medicine, it always brings me back to center when something is going on. Brings me back to my higher self, to my wisdom. Like, how can I heal myself? How can I find the truth? How can I? So when we come into ourself, we then get the answers to the questions. If we don't ask the questions, we don't get the answers. I'm going to say that again. If we don't ask the questions, we don't get the answers. Spirit works with us. They say God helps those who help themselves. Same thing. The divine and our guides and our higher self work with us at the level that we're willing to work with us. So I would always look within. I didn't go to a doctor for over 25 years. I didn't have insurance. And I said, I have to figure this out because I'm not paying $600 a month. And I knew I could figure it out. And I did. I worked with holistic methods. I worked with the energy medicine that I have. I tuned in and I was ready to go to the doctor if I needed to. And I always tell people, you listen to your higher self about everything. If you need to go to the doctor, go. Don't avoid it because of a belief, right? But I always look to myself for answers, and then I get guided to other people to help me. But it comes from here, not from here, and not from fear. Because when we work from fear, we don't go in the correct direction. And we get lost. So that's a powerful lesson to remember as well. So it's been a fun journey. I'm 70 years old. I started consciously on my journey at 15, but I remember being a child and having all this wisdom and sharing it and getting in trouble for it, you know. So, and I don't want to be done because there's always more. There's always more to learn and grow and experience. We came here in these bodies to have experiences, not to have the perfect life. I want to say that again. We did not come here to have a perfect life. And if you think you're bad or wrong, if you don't have a perfect life, get over it, because that's not the truth. Some of the most challenged people are the most enlightened. Not because they're bad or wrong, because they came here to live through these challenges to teach others they can too. Right? And it also helps us evolve. So, but if we're a victim, then we do go concave. We want to open up. And if you go victim and you catch yourself, and don't judge yourself, just get over it. Work through it. Learn how to move to the next place. The no judge and no blame, if you do that, your journey is going to be you're going to suffer. And we've been taught to suffer. We've been taught we're not good enough. We've been taught that we can't do it. We've been taught that we have to give our power to a husband or a job or a family or whatever, and negate ourselves. That's where we've got to shift. Nobody's happy if mama's not happy. That's an old saying that's so true. And I work with a lot of women, because if I can help the woman, whether she's a mother or not, she's the heart of the home. When she heals, everyone heals. So as women, if we negate ourselves, we're screwing up our whole family. And we're also trying to control them to do what we're not willing to do ourselves. Not good. We want to be the example. The one thing both of my daughters said to me when they left home, individually, they were 3 years apart. They said, Mom, thank you for showing us how to live, not always telling us how to live. That was so much more powerful. It was also more respectful of us. So that's a big thing I work on with women, especially. Men too, but women especially, is how important it is for you to heal yourself, love yourself, accept yourself. Look at all the female cancers we have. That will not be if we nurture ourselves, if we value nurturing ourselves. Yes. You had a question.
Well, I was when you're talking about now, like the woman role. Well, two things. I keep channeling this word forgiveness as you're talking, and I don't know if that's a big thing that you work on with people. Would you say the forgiveness of the self is a big part of that journey? And
No. Let me address that first.
Yeah, okay.
If we don't blame ourselves, we don't need to forgive ourselves. But when people are in that blame game, I do work with them on forgiveness into freedom.
Yeah.
Because if we accept that we're on this journey, that we have chosen everything, that we have called in these situations to grow and learn from, then there's nothing to forgive. We just want to accept, wow, this has not been fun. Mm-hmm. This has been hard. This has been painful. And then instead of blaming ourselves or our parents, I mean, if we keep blaming everybody, we never heal. Mm-hmm. If we keep judging ourselves and everybody, we will never, ever heal. If we have to keep forgiving, we have to keep judging and blaming. You understand? It's the same thing. So getting to the place of acceptance and love and curiosity to learn, wow, what has this been about for me? And how can I make it work for me and for others in my life, right? Because as we heal, others heal. As we break the patterns, others break the patterns. I'll tell you a real quick fun story. I was teaching a class of advanced students one day, all-day class, and we all were like, wow, this has been so monumental for all of us. The lessons, the healing, it was so incredible. That was on a Saturday. I had one daughter in college in Ohio, the other daughter in college in New York City. The next day, they both called me individually with the same enlightenment, the same message. What I did, what we did, affected them immediately. And they got it without even knowing what we were doing. That's powerful. Isn't that powerful? For women to hear that, when you heal, your family heals. When you wake up your family. They can choose not to, which we have to let go of. What was your second? I could go on forever. You could tell this.
I absolutely love what you said about that. So you're speaking about women. Sometimes, and I know myself, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, is that I feel a lot of pressure to be everything in all things. You know, with the role, I feel like there's a lot of pressure put on women. What do you say to that? Like, how do you speak to that? Do you feel the same way? I don't know. I think that women
So
are
I,
such an important role, but I also feel there's a lot of pressure for that role on us.
well, changing the rules and changing the roles is very important. I divorced at 31. I raised my children with the dad coming every other weekend and, once in a while, other times. I worked a full-time job. I was doing these studies. I was also later teaching this work. I sailed, I did other things, but I knew I always could never do everything. So I was a bad mom to some people because I didn't go to all their games, but I had dinner with them every night. That was more important to me because I needed to work during the games. And I chose to work during the game so that I could have that one-on-one time with them. We have to know that we can't do it all, nor should we. We have to ask for more help. I work with a lot of women who they don't have their children do enough. They don't have their husbands do enough. They do too much in general, and they accept it and they're quiet. And when we're quiet, we create dis-ease in ourselves. And for you to accept that this is what I choose to do and this is what I choose not to do. And if somebody doesn't pick up the slack, they deal with the consequences as well, right? It's very important for us to understand that we are worthy and that we don't have to do everything and we don't have to be everything to everybody. And they don't have to like it. That's the big part. The people pleasing, being nice is the most destructive thing that people do, especially women, not just women. I work with a lot of men on this. Because we always don't want to make waves. We want to get along. We want to be the peacemaker. We want everybody to be happy. We want everybody to like us. I am so authentically myself, no bullshit, and I have more people like me because I'm real, because I'm true, because I'm authentic, because I'm clear. We can't be clear if we're not telling the truth and if we're always people pleasing and we're always angry or frustrated. We have to choose. I took 1 week off every 3 months with no kids, with nobody. And I had women yelling at me, "How dare you abandon your kids for a week?" I'm like, I work real hard to be a good mom, to take good care of the house and them, to do a good job at work, to bring in the money. I need that time in order to keep doing that. And by the way, you can make reservations, I used to tell them. Right? Because women say that to other women because they're afraid to do it themselves. When they're afraid to take care of themselves, they're afraid to do for themselves, they're afraid to be judged, or they're even afraid to think it's okay to take care of ourselves, right? But when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of others. But nobody has to like it because we're changing their expectations. I work with a lot of women who are at home, who are managing incredible people and things in their homes. And I find their kids can be very abusive about, well, you're not doing anything. You can do this for me. I said, don't take that. Don't allow that. You know your value. You know who you are. You put that child in their place. How dare they speak to you like that? And you go to their father and you tell him to talk to him because he knows the value of what you do. And people need to learn, but we need to be able to say no, and we need to be able to challenge people who hurt us. And we don't do that as women. We give and we give and we give. And then how many women die young of cancer and other things because we do that? I want to live, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to help other people, but I'm not going to live by everybody's rules because it makes us crazy. And it makes us depleted and it makes us unhappy. And again, when mama's not happy, nobody's happy.
That's very true, Janet. I mean, if I can reflect for a moment,
Sure.
I've had breast cancer. I was my children were little, and I felt like I had to do a lot for my family, and they had some health issues as well. So I was neglecting my own self, focusing on them so much. And then after that was a very it changed the way I perceived my role. And then I got them more engaged in things so that they can help me, because I said, well, I need help so I don't get sick. And I wasn't trying to be like trying to
Well,
say that I was sick because of them, but because I needed help to balance, and it was a team effort. It was really kind of what I said. I was like, this is a teamwork. And they were very good at that. And I never got any backlash when I asked them to do anything. It got to a point where they were just like, Mom, what can I do to help you? And people, when I tell them that, they're like amazed. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to engage your kids or your family or anybody, not just your kids, but your husband? You're all in this together. And it was really, it changed a lot for me, and the energy in the home and the way they hopefully will also help their spouses and girlfriends. And that was one of the goals for me, so they can, also help in the future. So,
but
yeah.
it helps them take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them learn to be collaborative, to have good relationships, because everybody is working together. And if, like my girls learned how to cook, they learned how to do the laundry, they learned how to go food shopping, they learned how to clean. And when they both went to college, they both called me again and said, thank you, because these other kids are lost. They don't know how to do anything for themselves because their mother did everything and didn't teach them to learn how to take care of themselves. So I find that that's a huge detriment. And another detriment that I would like to speak to, because we're talking about beautiful women and the things that we deal with in culture, is and I just lost it. But we have to be the leaders too. And we have to let people be mad at us. I remember one time, I knew that my daughters, just the three of us at home, one time they were in such a bad place, and they were very young. They were 9 and 11 or 12, I think. And I said, I want to leave home and send money. And I'm your only parent that you're living with. So I think we got to work this out. So we actually did, and I recommend everybody do this. And since we're working mostly with women and as head of household in most ways, even if they're not working, we sat down and we talked about everything. And I said, you can tell me anything and I will not get mad at you. I will listen to you. We sat and talked about all the things that hurt us, all the ways we needed to be known that we're loved. We sat and talked about everything for 2 weekends. And I remember the Monday after the second weekend, one of my daughters said, Mom, I'm exhausted. Can I stay home from school? I said, absolutely. You need a break. But we established a strong relationship, respect. We changed the way we worked together. We realized how we were taking our problems out on each other, took responsibility. I had things to change that I accepted. I had things that I wanted. We need to build relationship within the family. Too many families are not really in relationship. And I felt if I could develop relationship within us, they could develop it outside for the rest of their lives. Oh yeah, now I remember what I was going to say. So one time, and it relates to this, my one daughter was very adamant about something, and she wanted it, and she's very brilliant, and she's turned into this amazing woman, and owns a business, has many degrees. But she wanted something a certain way, and I was not in alignment with that. It was not for her best interest. It was not for our best interest. So I said no. And she tried every other way that she could think about to get me to change my mind. No, 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 no. Well, I'm going to move in with daddy. I said, okay, I'll get your suitcases. I knew she wasn't going to move in, but that was the last one. I said, sweetheart, it is not in your best interest. And I am going to, those boundaries made her the woman she is today. Not having boundaries and being strong with your kids and letting them get mad at you is what is creating the chaos in our culture. It's one of the things that are creating the chaos in our culture. The child needs to know they're safe because you are the adult and you have boundaries. Don't make up rules that are unnecessary. Don't chastise them, love them, but give them good boundaries and say no when it's in their best interest and in the best interest of the family. So those are big women issues that I work with, and it creates a lot of problems as they grow if you don't. And you've got, if you haven't done it and your kids are 30, do it now.
It's not too late, right?
It's never too late for any of us. And we were talking about that before we started, to encourage people that it's never too late for anything.
Right.
And that we wake up spiritually at different levels at different ages. Just accept it, work with it, love it. Don't get mad because I think growing up is the bomb. I think being a sage, I've been a sage all my life. That's who I am. But as I'm getting older, it gets better. But you have to take care of yourself or else it won't get better, it'll get worse. That's really the key. That's be the medicine, be your own medicine, take care of yourself, take responsibility for yourself, love yourself, look for answers. That's really important. And Jennifer, you've got a question, I could tell.
No, I don't, but I just love everything that you're covering. It's just all so brilliant. I think like with my work with people, so I also had an still have an autoimmune disorder, but that started my journey into going within and really seeing that I needed more healing in other ways, because I just lived a life of working hard and kind of work hard, play hard. I just really wasn't connected with myself emotionally and spiritually. It was just very superficial. And I just love your emphasis on, how the mind and spirit is so powerful to our emotions, to disease that's created within ourselves. And I mean, I just love everything about what you're doing with this Be the Medicine, because we do have that power to reclaim ourselves and to balance ourselves within so deeply. And so I was just making that general observation as I was listening to you talk about all these wonderful things. Yeah, so
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Well, one thing I didn't talk about is the shamanism.
So your soul shamanism course, and
Well, just shamanism in general. When I had a tubal ligation at 28. My doctor made me wait till 28. I had 2 children. I knew I was going to raise them alone. And I just said, I can only deal with 2, please. And birth control was very difficult for me. And I'm there contemplating it. And I hear a voice in my head say, you're gonna fully come into yourself at the age of 40. So you're not going to want any more children because you have a big job to do. And I said, okay. So what happened at 40? I'm a top realtor selling 42 houses a year. My broker comes into the office one day and says, Janet, I just met a shaman at lunch at the diner. I'm like, what's the shaman doing at the diner in New Jersey for lunch? He said he's just moved here and he has a place in the next town, and you've got to meet him because you're reading 3 books on this stuff a week and you're doing all this other stuff. I said, okay. So I did all my, calls and whatever, and I went to meet him. And so I'll make the story really short. He told me I was a shaman. And I was like, okay. I never believe anything anybody tells me. I always have to own it and reflect on it. I don't dismiss it unless it feels really wrong. But I said, okay, that's curious. And he said, just like me. And I looked at him with the long black hair and the ponytail and the faded jeans and the faded Indian t-shirt and the moccasins. And I'm in a red pinstripe suit with beautiful jewelry and makeup. And I said, well, maybe just not like you, maybe more. I kept getting, I was going to bring it to the masses in a way that they could receive it, to everyday people. Like I didn't have to play the role. If I was that as a soul, I didn't have to follow the rules. And I'm a great person to help people break all the rules that don't really work for them. That's something I do really well. I work very well with rebels who want to figure out how to make it work for them. And from there, I just opened up like a flower. And I actually had a lot of breakthrough experiences, breakdown experiences through the years, opening, guidance to study with this one, that one. And I was told in the shamanic community, you don't say you're a shaman. I have been judged for this. My guide said, if you don't call yourself a shaman, people do not know to come to you. Now, there's a lot of people out there who call themselves shamans who aren't, and that's here nor there. But I know who I am, and I know what I do, and I have been guided to do it very differently than I've studied with many people and I've learned their ways, but I've been guided to work in a more universal way and a more direct way. And when I found the work that I call soul shamanism, it's directly connecting to your soul and to work in this universal space instead of an ego space, which a lot of shamanism does. And it's profound. When I have people who studied shamanism for years take this course and start to work with me, they're like, Janet, we don't have to do all this stuff. I said, I know, we're going direct. We're working with the highest level of truth and love, and we heal like that. We learn who we are, we learn our gifts, we learn our challenges, we meet our guides, but we meet our soul. And we understand who we are in this work. And it's life-changing because we feel home in our body and life. And as we work within this practice, and it's incredible ongoing work, it just is richer and deeper. And I always teach how to integrate spirit and soul with our everyday life. You know, when people say, I want to go home, I'm like, you're already home, show up and let's work together. We don't have to go anywhere. Our job here on this planet in these generations is to embody spirit and soul wherever we are. You don't need a shingle that's saying you're a healer or you're a coach or whatever. I did it in real estate. I cleaned up in real estate because I lived universal laws and I respected people and I respected myself and my family, and it worked. I tell people, don't quit your day job. Live it where you are and be guided where to go with it. Being spiritual, you can be spiritual and you can do any job. And we need people who are spiritually aware and awake everywhere, don't we? So if we only have them in this corner, we're in trouble. And a big part of my work is to help people awaken their whole self, spirit, soul, mind, body, physical health, and enjoy it instead of judging it or making it hard. When people say it's hard, I go, if you're aligned with the truth of who you are, you have the full backing of the universe. Focus on that. Don't focus on it's hard, because you're sabotaging yourself. Make it easy. No matter what we do, we're going to struggle, but we're going to struggle less the more we open to who we are. I watch people get elderly and get angry and get fearful and sabotage entire families. I did not want to be one of those people. I wanted to be someone that holds the family with love and helps them grow at no cost to me, at no cost to them. And that's where we can go. And as women, it's so important for us to learn these lessons because we literally control the world. We have to stop letting the world control us.
Very powerful messages. I know you have offerings, and you're always formulating new offerings. So where would people be able to find you if we can want to direct people to, you have a website, right?
Yes,
Be the Medicine.
BeTheMedicine.com.
We'll put that.
BeThe medicine.com. And it's a very comprehensive website. It's a very encouraging website. I'm working on refining it. See, there's always constant growth. I remember working with teachers who put classes 5 years out, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years.
Right.
I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 months. So my offerings are soul shamanism is a basic. I'm teaching Reiki Master, which is a very comprehensive 6-month program. It's not just a weekend or 2 weekends. The beginning of the year for the first 6 months of the year. I only teach it every certain amount of years because it's a huge amount. Everything I do is a huge amount of energy for me and focus. So, and I always work with people one-on-one every week. So I'm always balancing,
Right.
because I give so much. And at 70 years old, I am aware of how much I'm giving.
Mm.
And I choose, right? Because I want to stay healthy and offer the best. So you can look on my website at the possible offerings. I have
your newsletter. I do encourage people to sign up for your newsletter, because your newsletters are always inspiring and informative, and it does mention what you're currently doing. But I mean, I've read there are moments when I'm like just feeling a certain way, let's say, and then your newsletter pops, and you do provide them regularly. I'll be like, oh my gosh,
once a
oops, I'm
week.
sorry. Like she's giving me a message. It's like almost as if you're writing it just for me. So I do encourage people, just definitely sign up for your newsletter. So
Thank you. Yeah, and you can access my newsletter on every page of my website. You can sign up on, it's at the bottom of the page. And I'm putting more energy in there now. Every week, at least once a week, there are very powerful, inspirational blogs and learning and encouragement and, helping you be the medicine for yourself, helping you learn more about your spiritual journey, helping you access healing. And yes, I put my offerings at the bottom of that page as well. Yes, the newsletter. I have a YouTube channel, Janet Straightarrow, Be the Medicine. I have a couple YouTube channels. I'm just going to get rid of those other two, but that one, Janet Straightarrow, Be the Medicine. There's a lot of messages on there from COVID, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're out of the mainstream of COVID, every day I was inspired to channel messages. And I did put a little on each title about what it is. They're timeless.
Yeah.
They're timeless messages. I'm on Twitter at Be the Medicine. I don't use my personal one there. And Facebook has just asked me to exit for a while, maybe permanently. I've been advertising too much on my personal page, so they're not happy with me. So don't look for me on Facebook because you won't find me. But there's plenty of other opportunities. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm going to be putting more on LinkedIn now.
Right.
So under my name. But the most important thing I want to share is that life is amazing, even when it sucks. And it's not about this positive psychology. It's about really tapping into divine truth and love. It's about really choosing to inspire your own life. Inspire means in spirit. So access that. And I am so happy to work on the phone or on Zoom or in person with anyone who is curious and open. And people say one session is worth a year of therapy. And I've had many people say that. And I also work with people ongoing for deeper issues. And I'm always giving you tools and practices and teachings to help you do it yourself. Because I tell people, I don't want to be married to you. I don't want to see you once a week for 30 years. I want to help you be you and encourage you and mentor you and support you in whatever way. And I carry a tremendous amount of energy that's extremely healing for people. Also, I'll give you books and practices to help you wherever you are, whatever you need. I've helped people with all kinds of cancers, and a lot of people have survived stage 4 with the tools and the practices and the changes they've made and the energy. And I also encourage them to follow their knowing as to what medicine and what team to gather around them to heal. So I think that covers a lot of things.
Yeah. We may
Anything
have to
else?
have you back on in the
Well, if you have
future.
something specific, I'd be happy to, like really hone in on one aspect or more.
Um, I think this is good. And like I said, I think we'll in our show notes we'll put where people can find you, but I mean, we would love to have you back on the show. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get feedback, and I'm sure you will get people from our audience contacting you. And there's so much that you can offer and talk about. And I know that we can do another episode with you one day.
Oh,
We would love that.
I would love that too.
Yeah.
oh, I
So.
Yeah.
would love that too. And I didn't even tell you about my yoga journey.
Well, we're going to talk more with you for sure, because you are just a fabulous teacher, and I consider you my teacher, and I'm just very grateful that our paths cross, and that they continue to be we're continued to be connected, and now with Jennifer and so many more people out there. We're just really blessed that you were here with us today, Janet, and your healing just comes through as you're speaking, and
Yes.
I feel it, and I feel so good, and you remind me of so many things that I need to still continue to work on, and it's always a journey, and it's you're never done. And sometimes I tell myself, like, when am I done? But you're never done, you're always
Never
continuing,
done.
and that's a great reminder for people. And we talked earlier about our audience. We have a specific age group, but no, you work with everyone. New moms, old moms, no mom, people that are whoever they are on their
Men.
journey.
I
Men,
work with
Yes.
kids. I work with
kids, yeah,
teenagers. I work
yeah,
with college age. It just yeah. And I've had people I mean, some of these kids have huge breakthroughs. They have huge connections, and they need somebody who gets them
yeah. I know,
and helps them navigate their family and
yeah,
their life, and sometimes their sexuality. I mean, just telling them that however you are is perfect,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and helping to work with that. And that's why forgiveness, I don't have to forgive anybody. I just know I brought everybody in, and I
Mm-hmm.
brought myself in to have these experiences. And when I uh, resolve them in whatever way I need to resolve them, I don't hold myself or anybody else hostage.
yeah. That's great. Yeah, it's wonderful. So yes, so thank you, Janet, for being here today, and just want to reiterate to our audience, if you ever have questions, please send them to us, chatOffTheMat@gmail.com. We'll put everything in the show notes. We'll put Janet's, all her links there as well. Oh yeah, once again, Janet, thank you so much for being with us today. We are so blessed, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank you for joining us today. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to our websites and social media platforms, and to send us any email with questions or comments. We look forward to connecting with you again for some more Chat Off the Mat.